shoulders. Wow! Counter wow! Comes back!
Ready, go!
Oh! Run now. Oh, away we go, but he's stuck on that.
Too much sideways power for...
Levan can visualize everything quite well. He imagined himself losing his wrist and flopping against Levan, feeling nervous because he wasn't sure how much the flop would affect him. However, it turned out to be no problem and didn't significantly impact his hand, proving his adaptability and strength. This excites me because I can see Levan visualizing not only his strengths, but also what Jerry might be capable of. He seems to be analyzing how they could match up, even projecting his nervousness from that. However, this awareness also presents a danger. It shows that Levan understands the ways in which he could look bad against Jerry. More importantly, it suggests he is already training to address those specific challenges, which could make him even more dangerous. I have a strong feeling that Levan's hook must be incredibly powerful right now, based on reports and comments from those observing his preparation. This adds a layer of intrigue because his hook wasn't a significant part of his repertoire in earlier years. For instance, when Gennady set the hook against Levan back in 2018, they had an epic battle. Despite Gennady initiating the move, Levan ultimately outlasted him in the hook, demonstrating superior endurance and strength. That said, Levan's hook must look very different now. Over the years, we haven't seen him initiate with the hook often, which makes this matchup against Jerry particularly fascinating. Jerry often claims he isn't a flop wrist presser, describing himself instead as a presser who simply ends up losing his hand. However, this isn't entirely accurate. Every time Jerry gets stopped, he seems to willingly sacrifice his wrist position to bring his forearm closer to his bone line, allowing him to apply immense side pressure. This tendency was especially evident in his match against Todd Hutchings. Todd, who is not known for being a dominant top roller, managed to stop Jerry's press inside. However, Jerry deliberately let his wrist go limp, converting the match into a top roll versus flop wrist battle. It was almost as though Todd had top rolled from the start. Jerry's flop wrist is incredibly effective against top rollers. By forcing his opponent to the very back of their pad while positioning himself at the absolute front, Jerry creates an awkward angle. His opponents then face the difficult task of dragging downward without pulling backward, which would result in a foul. At the same time, Jerry's press with an intact wrist is equally formidable. For example, look at the rounds where Gennady and Alex tried to hook him. Jerry delivered flash pins in both instances. His supinated press is particularly dangerous and is something Levan must treat with caution. Even someone as physically dominant as Levan could risk a serious injury like a torn pec if they make a mistake. Jerry tore Gennady's pec in their clash, showcasing just how punishing his style can be. However, Levan does have potential advantages over Gennady. His larger, stronger hand and better leverage may allow him to withstand Jerry's press more effectively. Judging by his performance in their 2018 match, Levan seems to have developed the tools necessary to counter Jerry's strengths. Moreover, Levan's access to some of the best training partners and coaches in the world means he is likely preparing for this matchup in ways that will make him look as though he's been hooking for years. Jerry's supinated press, however, is no joke. It's worth noting that after Jerry tore Gennady apart in their match, Gennady didn't dare to attempt a hook again, and that was Jerry's first match back after a 4-year hiatus, meaning he was far from his peak. If Jerry's move has improved by even 10% since then, it could spell serious trouble for Levan if he isn't careful. That said, Levan likely has more tools available to him than Gennady did, and his overall strength and adaptability give him an edge. Levan himself acknowledged the difficulty of countering Jerry's press, stating, "Top rolling against Jerry is not smart." He has also revealed that he's been primarily training his hook in preparation for this match, indicating a clear strategy. Georgie had Jerry completely dead to rights in their match, but failed to capitalize, especially with pressing opportunities. Jerry is known to be vulnerable to presses in certain positions. Even Matt Mask, who has almost no inside game, managed to exploit this once. However, Georgie's performance showed a surprising lack of table IQ. Instead of adapting, he repeated the same ineffective strategy in each round, only with less effort as the match progressed. One effective strategy against Jerry involves low contact with his wrist, followed by a quick sideways drive and a half hook. This prevents Jerry from bending his wrist to access his flop press. If executed properly, this tactic could give Levan an advantage. Based on his recent training, Levan is likely to grab Jerry in this manner and internally rotate him to neutralize the press. Interestingly, many people overlook the fact that Jerry is essentially a hooker who sacrifices his wrist because most super heavyweights are top rollers. This match could go in two very different directions. It might become one of Levan's easiest victories, similar to Ermi's dominant win over Jerry, or it could mark his first loss in 6 to 7 years. While Levan is undoubtedly stronger overall, his struggles against Ermi's press are worth noting, and Ermi's press is nowhere near as refined or effective as Jerry's. Levan has learned to press himself in recent years, as demonstrated in his rematch against Levan. However, this technique is unlikely to help him much against Jerry, whose side pressure is unparalleled. Jerry's ability to generate enormous force is evident from his training. For example, he is capable of pulling the equivalent of 107.5 pounds for 15 reps on a pulley system, a remarkable feat of strength. Putting Jerry in a hook is easier said than done, especially for someone like Levan, who has focused heavily on top rolling for most of his career. Even if the match goes inside, victory isn't guaranteed. Look at what happened to Gennady in round 3 of his match against Jerry, or to Levan in round 4. Both had strategies, but still struggled to execute them effectively. Jerry's press is also psychologically intimidating. Ask anyone who has faced it, including Travis, who admitted to being wary of the risks involved. Gennady, despite being a tremendously strong hooker with comparable strength to Jerry, found himself outmatched when the wrong counter technique resulted in a flash pin. To effectively counter a presser like Jerry, an opponent must force him onto his biceps, thereby nullifying his ability to use his triceps to push. Additionally, they must escape the side pressure generated by his lower arm, which can push even the strongest opponents toward the losing side of the table. Historical matches provide valuable lessons in technique.